Congratulations! You've purchased the Eaton BladeUPS, the finest UPS on the market. We know you're ready to get it installed and running, and we're going to help you do it. First, pick out a clean, well-lit spot. Once you've got that, you can move in the first rack. Remove the packing materials, and finally, that last plastic bag. Now is a good time to make sure there was no damage in shipping. These are the tools you'll need: a box cutter, a power screwdriver, a set of pliers, snippers, an adjustable wrench, a ratchet set, and Torx drivers. You'll also need a friend. Installing a UPS is a two-person job. Once the rack is unpacked and ready, open up the door and you'll find screws and other hardware. Next, take the rack off the shipping pallet. First, move it forward. Then remove the shipping feet and put on levelers. Repeat the process for the rear feet. Be very careful when tilting the cabinet off the pallet. Only tilt it as much as needed to slide the pallet out from underneath. When putting the cabinet back down, be aware that the cabinet will roll on its wheels, and watch your toes. Now that the rack is in place, move the box that contains the UPS nearby. Use snippers to cut the shipping straps, and the box cutter to cut the plastic along the corner boards. Cutting along the corner boards will ensure that you don't damage any materials. Once you pull the top off the box, you'll find, what else? More boxes. Some are intentionally left empty to protect components during shipping. Don't worry, we didn't forget anything. Open every box to make sure you don't discard anything you need. Stack the long boxes. These are the batteries. They'll go in soon. They're heavy, so lift with your legs. There's also a box with the user's manual and the install manual. This is a good time to read the install manual. This video can only give you the basics. Next, remove the rail mounting kit. You have a left and right front and a left and right back. Make sure you have all the brackets, screws, and clips you need. It's easier to lay them out before you start. Next, assemble the rails. At this point, just finger tighten the nuts. This way they'll move in the rack when you need them to. Then attach the rear hold-down brackets and finger tighten the nuts. Make sure the rail pieces move freely for easier installation. Now install cage nuts into the rear cabinet rail. The cabinet hardware bag has this tool, which will make installing the cage nuts easy. To make installation easier, you can remove the rack's side panels. Just remove the screws, lift, and unhook. The door comes off too. It's easy. Just use a flathead screwdriver to release the 8 clips. And finally, tighten the screws on the rail assembly. Eaton engineers recommend building racks from the bottom so they don't become top-heavy. Next, open the BladeUPS chassis box. This contains the main chassis. It's heavy, so use the lifting sleeve. Now, to reduce weight and make installation easier, remove the single retaining screw and slide out the electronics module. Make sure, if you're installing multiple BladeUPS units, to keep the electronics modules with their original chassis. Before the UPS can go into the rack, you'll want to add the accessory communication cards. To install the parallel card, use a Phillips head screwdriver and remove the cover plate of slot 2. Align the card with the slot, slide it in, and reinstall the screws. Make sure the card makes contact with the internal electronics. Secure the card with the screws from the cover plate. If you're installing additional communication cards, remove the cover plate of slot 1 and install the card. Again, making sure the card makes contact with the internal electronics. Now you're ready to install the BladeUPS chassis into the rack. First, slide the back of the chassis 3 to 4 inches out of the cardboard support sleeve. This will allow you to align the chassis with the mounting brackets and slide it in more easily. Slide the chassis in just 3/4 of the way. Then put on the mounting brackets or ears. Slide the chassis in the rest of the way. And then insert the rear clip. Then tighten the screws. and plug it in using the alignment pin to position the power connector as it locks into the parallel bus bar. Continue this process for any additional BladeUPS you'll be installing. Before you go to the next step of installing the battery trays, make sure your cabinet is near its final position. The batteries and electronics modules add a lot of weight and will make it difficult to move the cabinet more than a short distance. Next, you'll want to install the racks for the batteries. Just remove the battery cover plate and slide them in. And yes, the plastic covers stay on. Once you've installed all of the batteries in each BladeUPS chassis, replace the battery cover plates. Next, install the electronics module. Slide it in and tighten the single retaining screw. Then plug in the user display cable, align the front cover mounting posts, and snap it in place. Now let's head to the back, where you'll want to install the communication cables that connect the modules. Make sure you check the manual. There are very clear diagrams that tell you what connects to what. First, you'll install the connecting blocks. Then install the redundant signal cable between the modules. Next, install the CAN bridge card cable. Again, check the manual. Now we're going to install extended battery modules, or EBMs. EBMs give the BladeUPS extended runtime. If you have space in your BladeUPS cabinet, you can install the EBMs there. For this installation, we're going to use a second cabinet. And yes, you guessed it, more boxes. The first box holds the accessory kit and the manual. Again, you'll want to read the manual completely before you start. All you need for this installation is a socket wrench and a Phillips screwdriver. First, make sure rails are assembled and can slide easily. Then install the rear EBM hold-down brackets. Install clip nuts as diagrammed in the manual. And now install the rails into the rack. Once they're in place, you can tighten them up. Repeat this process for all EBM units you'll be installing. Now, lift the EBM out of the box. Use the lifting sling and be careful. Set the EBM on a work surface and slide the back of the unit 3 to 4 inches out of the cardboard lifting sleeve. This will make alignment and installation much easier. Place it on the mounting rails, screw on the mounting brackets, push the EBM all the way into the rack, secure the back clips, and secure the front mounting brackets to the cabinet rail. Finally, align the front cover mounting posts and snap the front cover into place. In this installation, we're also going to install power distribution. With the UPS and EBM installed, it's time to open the box that contains the rack power module, or RPM. Again, lay everything out and consult the owner's manual to verify that you have all the necessary parts. Check mounting rails and ensure they slide easily. Attach the rear hold-down brackets and finger tighten. Here we're installing the RPM at the top of the cabinet, but it can be positioned anywhere in the cabinet depending on your specific application. With the mounting rails installed, tighten the 2 rail wing nuts on each side. Once the rails are installed, take the RPM out of the box and put it on a table to install the accessories. First, install the front mounting brackets. If you choose, install the cable tray now. Once the accessories are added, just slide it into the rack and tighten the nuts. Now is a good time to align the cabinets in their final location. Position the cabinets, along with any additional equipment cabinets, so that they are physically touching. This will allow you to bathe the cabinets together after making the final connections. Now we'll install the enclosure power distribution. Carefully remove the EPDU from the box. Next, snap on the toolless mounting clips. This makes it easy to move and replace EPDUs if you change your configuration. Install the toolless mounting brackets on the back cabinet rails, selecting the appropriate spacing for your EPDU and application. Once EPDUs are installed, we can make connections between the cabinets. First, hook up the EBM cables to the BladeUPS units. Here, we'll be connecting one EBM to each BladeUPS. You can install and connect additional EBMs to further extend battery time, keeping in mind that you need to have an equal number of EBMs connected to each BladeUPS in the system. Install cable management brackets in the cabinets and use them to secure cabling to the UPS. Then connect the RPM input cable to the back of the UPS. Consult the manual for more detailed diagrams on EBM connection options. Then plug the EPDU into the RPM. You can use tie-downs to secure the EPDU input cables to the RPM's cable tray. Next, with the optional baying kits, you can connect the cabinets together. There are 3 connectors for the back and 3 for the front. This will hold everything together. Now you're ready to start up the system, but first, consult the manual one more time. At this point, an electrician should have already run utility power to the UPS cabinet and wired it in. First, verify that all breakers on the UPS, EBM, RPM, and the utility feed to the cabinet are turned off. Unlatch the red breaker locks on all breakers and remove the hold-off tie wrap from the DC breakers. Turn on utility power feeding the system. Turn on CB1 input breaker for each BladeUPS and wait for the front panel to illuminate. Once the front panel has illuminated, turn on the CB2 DC battery breaker on all systems and also turn on the EBMs. Now you're ready to turn on the entire system. Go through the front display exactly as the manual describes. Now all the BladeUPS modules should be online, as indicated by a green LED on the front panel. If there are any warning lights illuminated, consult the manual and correct the problem before proceeding. Now turn on the load connector breaker on the back of each BladeUPS to energize the power distribution system. Turn the RPM breakers on, and the EPDUs will now be energized. The last thing to do is put the front door back on. Then step back and admire your work. You've done it. Nice job. Your Eaton BladeUPS system is up and running.